Hey there, welcome to day 119, and we are reading in Luke chapter 22. We are breaking this chapter up into three parts because it is a long chapter. So we should be in verses 33 through 53. So we see here that Jesus, we had just finished the Lord's Supper, and Jesus is talking with Peter, also called Simon, and he's warning Simon of what's to come. And basically, he says that Satan has tried to infiltrate Peter's heart, and that Jesus is praying against that so that his faith will not fail. And so I just love this picture that Jesus is praying for us, is interceding on our behalf, because there are spiritual battles that we are or will be fighting, and that Jesus has the power to intercede on our behalf and to fight for us so that our faith will be strong in those times of need. And of course, Peter says, no, I'm going to follow you to prison or to death, whatever it takes. And Jesus tells him, well, actually, you're going to deny me 3 times. And of course, Peter doesn't believe him of what's to come. But Jesus knows that this spiritual battle is a lot more than Peter even knows at this point and what's coming. So then we see that Jesus is telling the disciples to start getting ready, to prepare themselves. Up to this point, when Jesus sends out the disciples, they use the goodwill of the people to take care of them. But after Jesus is arrested and crucified, and even after the resurrection, they're going to be in a much more hostile environment. So he tells them to start getting ready more in their provisions and their needs, financially, things like that. And then it goes into the Garden of Gethsemane, where they go to pray, and Jesus goes off by himself to pray. And we see this heart-wrenching event of Jesus praying to God the Father to say, if you will take this cup from me. And he's referencing, of course, the crucifixion, and not so much the pain, but the idea that he's going to take on the sins of the world. And he says, but not my will, but yours. And I just think, we see the physical reaction of Jesus to this. And I think that has more to do with the fact that Luke, who's writing this, is a physician. So he's talking about how Jesus's body is responding at this time, and he is in agony. He is sweating so much that it's like blood, whether that means it's like blood is running out, or if he's actually so sweating so much that there is actually tinged with blood. So it's not literal blood, it would just be like maybe the color of, or the pores being a little bit more open to let some of that out. And Jesus is crying out to God, and I just think, is my prayer life like that, where I have, that I cry out to God and that I ask him for big things. And then am I okay with the fact that sometimes he's not going to answer my prayer exactly how I want it to be answered? And so that I have to be able to say, not my will, but yours. And then we see that Jesus is getting onto the disciples for sleeping. And of course, they don't realize, really what's coming. And Jesus is telling them to be ready, to be alert, to stay away from temptation, because he knows that in just a few moments, Judas will arrive with a big group of people. And Judas approaches Jesus and gives him a kiss on the cheek, basically to signify that this is the one who is Jesus, is the one you want. And we see that Jesus goes willingly without a fight, despite the fact that they brought a group of people. Even though Peter does try to start a fight and ends up cutting off a guy's ear, Jesus stops and heals the man before he goes willingly with this group. And there's a few reasons for this and how this kind of takes place, but Jesus knows that this is his time and this is the hour. And up to this point, we've seen over and over in Scripture how Jesus is saying, don't tell anybody what you've seen, or try to keep this to yourself because he knew it wasn't his time. But in this case, he knows this is the time and the hour that he has to go before the courts and ends up at crucifixion so that he can take on the sins of the world to become the ultimate sacrifice and the new covenant for us. So as you go through your reading today and your prayers, just thank him for his sacrifice. Look at praying bold prayers and big prayers, but ultimately being okay with whatever God's will is for your life. And so that you can have faith and strength against any spiritual battles that you will be fighting. So I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.